Is Superman the greatest comic book movie of all time? It might be. Now, first, let me clarify what I mean by best superhero comic book movie of all time. Do I think it is the absolute best out of every comic book movie in general? No. No, I do not. The real question I am asking is it the most comic booky superhero movie of all time? I think without a doubt, there's only a few in my mind in the conversation for the most comic booky superhero movie of all time. And Superman is probably number one in that category. You have the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. That is a very comic booky trilogy. You could argue the Guardians of the Galaxy is very comic booky, also made by James Gunn. But this just feels the most lived in, and you've heard it probably by a lot of people, lived in comic book, like ripped straight out of the pages. Feels like a Justice League Unlimited morning. You wake up and you put on some cartoons and you just get right into the action, and we're in a superhero story type scenario. That's what this movie is, but in live action. So in that regards, yes, it would be the best comic book movie in the sense of it's the most comic book movie that we've ever seen. It's not afraid to say, hey, this is based off comics and this is a different world than what we live in. Most modern superhero movies for the last 20 plus years started with the Dark Knight trilogy, which is one of my favorite trilogies of all time. I have posters back here for the Dark Knight. Love them, but that set the standard of we don't really want to make a comic book world. We want to make it feel grounded and realistic. And I do think that was the appropriate approach at the time, because at that time people weren't as serious about superhero movies. The general audiences were like, oh, that's silly, that's for kids. So you had to make it grounded, realistic, and a little bit more gritty in some sense, or relatable, so general audiences could say, oh, superhero movies aren't that bad after all. These are kind of cool. Iron Man's pretty cool, and blah, 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 blah. And it worked. It worked for the last 15, 20 years now. And now we're at the point where that superhero fatigue is starting to happen with a lot of people. I believe it's mainly because there hasn't been enough quality, just more quantity. And James Gunn's universe is a fresh start. We've already seen lots of great superhero movies in the past that people love. Now, I think the opportunity is allowed to say, hey, we could do this a little different now. We don't have to make it super duper realistic like our world. We can make it comic booky because people have seen and have loved superheroes enough now to that I think they are open to the idea, general audiences, and then the nerds who just really want to see it in general have always been ready. So Superman is fresh, it's unique in that regards, and it opens up the floodgates of the idea of what DCU could be in contrast to the MCU. MCU is still doing their thing, they still have some good things set up. Fantastic Four is coming out in a couple of weeks, Avengers Doomsday, etc. DC can do something completely unique and completely different by taking us into a world of the comic books. So is it my favorite comic book movie of all time? No. There's still a handful of superhero movies that I like better than Superman. It is really, really good, though. It's easily in my top 20. It is easily in my top 20. I can say that without a doubt. Where exactly is still trying to figure that out. I'd probably say even in my top 15. Not sure if it's in my top 10, but it was such a fantastic movie. If you want to get my full thoughts on the movie, I do have a review of it. That was my first view, and I've now seen it 3 times now, and I'm possibly going to see it a 4th. So it is a great movie. Not my favorite comic book movie of all time. I don't think it is the best, but if someone said it was, I'm not going to argue with you. You have your arguments, especially if you really have always craved a movie that is really more of a comic book movie, that isn't afraid, isn't apologetic about it saying, hey, this is a superhero movie in a superhero world. And that's what this movie is. And in that regards, it is probably the most comic book movie of all time. Probably by a landslide. You have a few movies in competition, like I said, with Spider-Man's Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire trilogy. But even that, in comparison to this, I don't know. This is such a different world. Maybe because Spider-Man's more a relatable character in the sense of living in New York City, etc., and Superman's more fantastical in nature. But you add Green Lantern, you add Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, all these characters. It's so comic booky. Heck, even making Crypto the flying dog, that is something you can't do in a grounded Superman. You can't do that in Man of Steel. It would stick out like a sore thumb, and it would be probably too weird. I can't imagine a Crypto in Man of Steel. It makes ton of sense in this world, in this movie, with James Gunn's universe, and I loved it. So those are just my thoughts. Leave a comment down below. Is Superman the most comic booky superhero of all time? Do you think there's any other in competition? Leave a comment down below. I would like to have that discussion because I think there is probably some that I'm missing. The Suicide Squad being another one, again, being James Gunn. Would love to hear your thoughts about it, and just in general of the movie itself. What did it live up to the hype, to your expectations? Did you love it? Is it one of your favorite superhero movies in general? Even my conversation aside, what do you like about this movie? I would love to talk about it. Like, comment, subscribe for more DCU content in the future.